Welcome everybody. How's it going? It's your boy Kid and On here, and I just want to say how you doing? You guys, everybody out there in the world today, doing all right? For those of you listening, I appreciate you. Thank you for giving me a chance, for giving me your ears to listen to this episode, this podcast that I will be just diving into all kinds of things, anime and tokusatsu. This is the AniTokuHouse, and it's going to be a lot of fun for me just kind of speaking my mind about what I think about the universe of tokusatsu, anime, otakudom as a whole, and hopefully able to spark some kind of discussion with a lot of people um, on the internet. I love discussion. I love being able to have a chat with pretty much anybody and everybody and everyone. It's one of those things where it's like I think we've all experienced this at some point in our life, especially those of us who loves anime and whatnot. Is you watch something that's still under the radar, something that's like not quite mainstream yet, but maybe more popular than you would think. But you never really have someone nearby that you can just talk to about it on a daily basis and just have a nice conversation about the episode that you watch. Unlike most people who watch a show on ABC, NBC, HBO, where they can immediately talk to someone the next day about that episode. Like, holy shit, did you see this episode? Because you know 9 times out of 10, they've seen it. And hopefully, I'm getting into Reddit. I'm looking at a bunch of Reddit threads. Hopefully I can get into that more and just spark a crap ton of discussion. Because at the end of the day, it's so much fun to go deep into a series, a franchise, and have someone that you can just speak to about it on a daily basis. It's even better when you have a large group of people who are down to talk to you about said show. So what am I going to talk about today? All right, y'all, what I want to talk about today is sports related anime, manga, just sports in general. I am a huge fan of sports. I played sports since I was a young kid. Love playing it, love watching it. And by far, I did not know what I was getting myself into in the realm of sports anime until one of my buddies suggested me to probably one of the more common ones to suggest to someone, which is Kuroko no Basket. Um, and the reason why I say that is because that seems like a mainstream enough series where you can be like, "Yo, have you seen Kuroko Basket?" Or Kuroko's Basketball. I I go in and out. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, and I was like, "No, I have not seen it." And it was one of those instances where I started watching it. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is shonen to the highest degree, but with sports. And I loved it. I loved it because it was the first thing I saw. It was ridiculous enough for me to want to keep watching it. Although the ridiculousness kind of put me off at the same time in the beginning because seeing somebody play basketball and have superpowers, which by the way, I would say a good portion of it makes sense. Like a good portion of what they did actually made a ton of sense and was relatable. And I was like, okay, this works. I can see that being something like a thing because a lot of it's mostly just skill. It's based on skill and physique and like work ethic, right? But then there were two superpowers that made no sense at all. First, let's talk about Kuroko. The Invisible Kid. Kuroko was constantly nobody saw him. No, he was the sixth man. He was the guy off the bench that nobody expected anything from him, and that was his superpower. He had no presence that he's able to hide on the court for extended periods of time without anybody really recognizing him as a player. And I call bullshit on that first and foremost. I doubt there's ever a player that's so off the radar where nobody would notice. I don't care who you are. You're playing basketball. You're going to pay attention to that player. Because guess what? He's a physical person. Now you may be playing zone or something, and then like you will have him, but then you kind of lose track a little bit because like he's kind of outside, but you want to okay, but no, don't. And then he can, and then he's like the intermediary, the conduit, like he's like the in between passes. So somebody would pass to one random location, and then all of a sudden it goes to another location, and nobody clearly sees them. That's exaggerated. The second stupid superpower that we have with Kuroko no Basket is um green haired dude with the superstition. I forget. I am bad with names. You will learn. I suck at names, and a lot of people probably suck at names with regards to anime and tokusatsu. But like the greenhead basketball player, where he can shoot from anywhere, he can literally take one step inside the court and just launch a ball and score. That's stupid. And always make it. That's absurd. Let's talk about how absurd that is. There's no way that's going to be possible with the accuracy that he's shooting it. Plus, not only that, the height at which he has to shoot the ball in order to guarantee that it goes straight down the way he wants it to go straight down. There's no possibility. I can accept half court. I can accept that he is just deadly from half court and he can make any shot from half court from there on. I cannot accept the fact that this dude can just randomly make a shot from full court anywhere on the court and that all of a sudden you have to defend him on the other side of the court just to keep him from that's absurd nonsense and I love it. Let's be real, it was so much fun. It was so much fun watching because it was just absurd enough to be like, okay, I see what you're going with. But then the reason why I say the rest of them makes more sense is because, for example, Almane, I think that's his name. He's the big dog. He's the head honcho. He's the superstar of the group. Outside of I don't think his name is Akashi, but it might be Akashi. I might be mixing up other series, but the kid with the emperor eyes or something like that. Yeah, but you got the one that's just pure basketball talent. He could ball wherever, basically shoot in whatever form. That's more realistic. You got the copycat, the player who can basically copy whoever he's watching pretty quickly. I can accept that because that takes some physical talent. You have the big boy in the middle being able to get down and dirty. I can see what he can do because of his size. You have our boy, man, I should probably look up their names. But anyways, um, Koga, Koga. I feel like his name is Koga. Yes. Let me do a quick search. Hold on. Sorry, I apologize. Koga. I wanna see the character's name. I was right about Akashi. Taiga. There we go. Kagami. Taiga. So you have Taiga, who is basically Aomine 100%. They're one and the same. But you got Kisa, Almane, and Tiger, both kind of like all three of them basically one and the same players. It's clear that Tiger and Almane is kind of like the more like complete players, the more talented of the crew. But Kisa is probably the next best thing and whatnot. And that's what I enjoy because everybody else is kind of like, all right, you make sense. Um, and then Akashi, the whole God Eye, Emperor Eye, whatever they want to call that nonsense, it's cool and all. I'm gonna be real, it's cool, but it's absurd. Like him being able to cross over anybody, there's nothing wrong with the ability to be able to cross over. I think that's just logical. That's just great ball handling skill and perception of the court. But the way they make it like, oh, it's his eyes. I'm like, okay, maybe. But again, that's the fun part. You don't go into a lot of sports animes thinking you're going to get something super realistic. At least that's probably something you don't see at the start. You probably like I bet most people either going to start off with Kuroko no Basket, or Haikyuu. Those are probably the two sports animes that people are probably going to recommend the most for people to get into the genre. Because ultimately, Kuroko, it feeds into the shonen aspect of anime. Like it feeds into that battle shonen type feel where like yes, you got guys with superpowers fighting against each other, and it builds up to like, oh, we got the best four, the best five, and just Tiger kind of having that mountain to climb with Kuroko, and I can see that being super enticing. So that was my first series that I watched. I enjoyed it for sure. I would 100% say though, like if you're not into the whole superpower nature of things, if you like more down to earth stuff, Kuroko no Basket is definitely not your thing. Especially if you do enjoy kind of like sports overall, but you don't want sports to be like the most absurd thing. Like if you're not a fan of, let's be honest, if you're not a fan of like Space Jam, you probably don't want to be a fan of this. Like, but who doesn't love Space Jam? Let's be real. But yeah, I think Kuroko no Basket is definitely a fun show to start off with. If you're used to the typical shonen type series, then that's a great segue into sports anime 100%. And I think that's the one way. There are other series that I haven't had the chance to watch yet that I would love to watch that are older than Kuroko. There's there's I think Prince of Tennis is an older show. It happened before Koroku. There's um there's Slam Dunk, there's Ice Shield 21. So there's a lot of sports series that happens before Koroku, but I think Koroku is at a certain point where most people will be like, you know what? I can accept this and I can enjoy it. And I think that's what I love about the show because it's a great gateway to the to the sports genre. Now, here's one that I think a lot of people don't know about, and that's Yaomushi Pedal. By the way, can we talk about how much fun that series is? Yaomushi Pedal, honestly, I can't believe that was my second sports anime. I'm gonna be real honest. Yami Shippedo is by far my favorite, and it's my second sports anime that I got into because it's honestly the most down to earth one next to Haikyuu. And I'm not sure if it came on before Haikyuu. I want to say it's about the same time as Haikyuu, so you kind of enjoy that much. But the great thing about it is it feels real. I think everybody has their own. It's the same sense of everybody has this thing that they're really good at. Everyone has this talent because of because of something about them physically that allows them to do it, or because of just simple everyday life, or it's simple training, whatever the case is. And I love that about Yamamushi Pedal. And there's multiple seasons so far of Yamamushi Pedal that is just fun. The series is based behind Onoda. He is a otaku in high school. He loves his animes and whatnot. He's otaku through and through. His characteristic is he bikes to and from school every day while stopping at generally I don't know if it's actually Akibara. I'm gonna stop with the nonsense. But he stops at a town that is super known for otaku culture and whatnot, and he does that on a daily basis. He wants to start up his own otaku club, anime club, manga club, and whatnot, but can't do that without having four people. So what happens? He ends up joining the cycling club, and so much fun happens after that. You get a lot of great characters, and you see so many different personalities. It's such a fun thing to watch when watching this series and whatnot. I keep thinking about like, man, like how is this fun? By the way, there's one song in season one, and I wish it carried on into the second, I guess second series, because you get Yamushi Pedal and then you get the Yamushi Grand Road. I think typically is what it's called. Uh, but then there's a third season essentially, which is I forget. It's because you get the Grand Road if I'm not mistaken. And then the following series is man, what is the following series? It's man, what is I'm spacing right now. What is this nonsense? What is this nonsense? Why am I spacing on but it's a basically kind of like a second series, second season to so you got new generation. Thank you for taking for internet. Young Mishipedal new generation. So that's kind of like their second year in high school, and you get the first two seasons of the show, Grand Road and just Young Mishipedal, where it's with the current team, the first team that's you have the third years plus Onoda and Naruko and Izumazumi, three freshmen, first year who comes into the team, and it's such a fun show. It's so amazing. I am terrible with explaining things and talking about series as a whole, but overall, it's so much fun, and I can never recommend it enough to watch it. There's a song that you will listen to. It's going to be the catchiest song in the series. And like I was trying to say earlier, I wish that song continued on through season the new generation. You get a new version of the song, but honestly, there's nothing like the original, and it comes into play in such a unique and creative way that you can honestly say it makes sense to do that. But now let's talk about the two series that I've been currently keeping up with and enjoying so much, manga wise. One of them being sadly the ending of Haikyuu. I came to love Haikyuu a few years ago. Honestly, I want to say I caught it about a year or two after it first aired, and I was able to binge it through the first two seasons, and thankfully was able to watch season three kind of like continuously, week to week. And my gosh, Haikyuu is such a fun series because you get a character that most people will say is the underdog because of his height, and you can say that Hinata is the underdog. He is a character that loves the sport, who came to love the sport of volleyball from watching it on a television screen, and just came to love it because volleyball was one of the few sports where his height did not matter, and he wanted to be able to do something where like he can do it and do it well and exceed. And you can tell he loved it because he didn't have to be tall to be really good. He just have to work hard and he can be, the best of the best. And you can tell like his height was something that like at least throughout the series you can tell that like he never used his height as an excuse as to why he didn't do well. He would generally use his height really just as motivation to be able to be like, you know what, I'm small, but I can beat some of the best of the best. And I love that attitude. I love how he never just gave up on a series and just enjoyed doing what he did day in and day out. And it was so much fun. When you watch the first episode and you see how much he really wanted to play the sport, and you get him playing his first and only game in middle school, which is heartbreaking because it would have been amazing to see this character play more than just once. When you see how well he got along with his friends and how much he actually was thankful for his friends to actually join the club for even one match, one tournament, ultimately. And you, I would. want to say that he honestly felt like he was aware that there wasn't necessarily a massive chance of winning, but the competitive side of him was like, I want to be able to play this for as long as I can. And unless it's official, unless we lose, we haven't lost. And I love that. He's like, he would never stop fighting. He never even blamed his friends whenever they make a mistake because he wants to keep playing. He's such a great presence on the court that is fun. You get the opposite with him being Kageyama, who is a natural born talent on the court. He commands the court like nobody at that age level, and you see it in that match with Hinata, the first match, and I just like, man, this is amazing. This is fun. But what really catches you is when at the end of that episode we get a funny twist to it, and it changes the whole dynamic between the two characters, and it makes me wonder if the author went a different route, if we could have ever, how much both characters would have grown, if we went a certain route compared to the first one. But I think this was definitely by far the best choice. And once again, like I said, the manga did end, so the anime is currently basically they know where they're going, and we're season 4, second core of Haikyuu to the top, which is, you know, and it's going to be interesting. I wonder how long they're going to play, run the series. Now that they know where it's going to end, if there's going to be any way they can beef it up for an extended period of time. If season 3 taught us anything, that they can legitimately do one match in 10 to 12 episodes. So that's probably what we're going to start to get, because the next, including the current match, which is one, the next 3 matches, uh, is insane and can easily cover a whole core. And then when we get after those matches, it's going to be interesting what the route is. I personally hope we can get more like in between and continue to watch the series from like in between what's happened, what we get. But you never know. You know, sometimes filler is not great, but I love it so much. I don't want that series to end. But yeah, Haikyuu's great, and I will recommend it by far. Read the manga. The anime is great too. I honestly enjoy the anime because it's one of those cases where like reading it is great, but the animation, to see everything in action, especially, honestly, the best thing about Haikyuu is everybody's reaction, and especially everybody's reaction to Hinata himself, his jumps, his thought process. Oh my gosh, the way he's able to move around the court like a rabbit on steroids is so much fun with Haikyuu. I'm telling you, watch the series, but also read the manga. I would say try to do it concurrently and just have fun with it. Or if anything, watch the series first and then start from the beginning of the manga and watch and read the manga all the way through. If you do that, you probably catch up to the new season coming out sometimes in the future. When, we don't know, but yeah. Oh man, Haikyuu is such a fun series. Probably my number 1 sports anime at the moment. My number 2 sports anime, it is Ace of Diamond, hands down. Now I'm gonna tell you guys a secret. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of baseball. Like I said before at the beginning, I love sports, and I can enjoy watching baseball if I was in the stands. As a whole, the sport isn't the most interesting to me, but I can respect it. I can appreciate the players playing and what they do, especially pitchers. Pitchers have the most going for them and the most at stake. They drive the team to success. Because let's face it, if the opponent can't score, you win. That's all it is. And if a pitcher can reach that that milestone, that pinnacle of like shutting out other teams day in and day out, guess what? You win. So I love the series because the character himself, the main character, is Samura Eiji, and What's fun about it? By the way, I just recently learned that he's actually based off of a real life character, from a ways from like legit history, and I lost my mind when I learned that. I was like, wait, what? Um, not exactly based because this character was born in the early 1900s, if I'm not mistaken. So so it's not quite one for one. It's more of a modern take on this character. I'm curious about the story of Samura Eiji, and what he was like. So I'm excited for the series, and that I'm even more excited because it's based on a real life. Like you can't beat that. You may know what happens, but still you can't beat that. Plus, it's you can say it's loosely based, but you can have a foundation to follow. Back to what I was saying. We have Samura. Samura is by far the most energetic player you will ever meet in sports anime. He this kid, he even not being the best, he demands all the attention to himself, and not intentionally. He doesn't like look at me. But his personality is so bold and whatnot that people naturally gravitate towards him. People naturally look out for him, seeing like, wait, who is this loud, rambunctious kid just yapping left and right? And he first can come off as arrogant, annoying, not able to do what he does, but he ends up backing it up left and right because of his just sheer like what's the word? I'm like the sheer oomph that he has, like the sheer balls, the sheer I don't even know how to say, um, where he's able to kind of like not always back it up with sheer talent. Sorry, I just said sheer like 30,000 times. I apologize for that he's not able to back up his talent through pure talent, or his play through pure talent, but it's more him backing it up with like grit. Like this, he's going to be able to fight through. And he's never going to give up regardless of what situation he's in. He can be dropped into any situation and he can come out on top because it's just who he is. He's one of the hardest working players on the team, and you can't like he is all about buzzing his butt, but most importantly, he's about friends. He's about family. He's about team, and that's what brings him to a whole nother level. He cares so much more about his teammates and friends than anything else. He'll do everything he can to help his team succeed. And for him, that's being the ace. That's being able to be the leader of the team and bring everybody in, having the impact to bring his team together and whatnot. And I can see that's what he was thinking. And I love it. I honestly love it. And the story, like what Haikyuu and Ace of Diamond does really well, and I think we don't necessarily get too well with other sports animes, or correction, for sports animes that are really good, you get a lot of great side characters. You get a lot of characters that you start to either care about or you're fascinated about, and the mangakas and directors do a great way of like creating that intrigue in that character, creating like oh man, I want to get to, I want to know this character a little more. You learn about these characters. They do a great way of that. Oikawa is a great example of that, where like he is this playboy, really super good, probably the best setter, um, the best third year setter in his prefecture and all that stuff. But you see how hard he works, and the fact that like the way he acts towards Kageyama, his his junior, is like that's his competitive nature. He's like, I don't want to lose to you. Why do I want to help you? And that's understandable. That's reasonable. But man, with Samura and Ace of Diamond, you get so many different characters. I don't like. So you get the baseball team. The baseball team typically is made up of at least 20 players. So you get 20 players right off the bat. You get some kind of character development. But then you have other players of like third years that have played the game. Oh man, it's so much. And I don't know if I could say how much I love this series enough. But once again, Ace of Diamond, check it out. It's so just do it. Just do it. Enjoy it. I will go probably deeper into all these other series individually, whether it'll be a series review, manga review, or whatnot. But I just want to talk about my love for sports animes. I dropped a few that I super enjoy. If there's any other sports animes, any other sports mangas out there that you have read, watched, seen, enjoy, let me know. Let me know in the comments down below. I know of a few. There's Prince of Tennis. There's Princess Stride. Oh, speaking of Stride, by the way, Run with the Wind is one of the most underrated animes that out there. It is beautiful. It is amazing. The story is great. It is also another sports anime out there. It's about long distance running in college. It being placed in college is amazing. Holy crap! Let's just okay. So I'm going to go deeper into each sports anime as much as possible on a separate podcast, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. But again, sports anime is great. I love anime in general. I love manga. Who doesn't? If you're watching this, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. And without further ado, have a good day. Do your best, and peace and be easy.